Imagine a world where Jesus' teachings are directly applied to politics, economics, and social justice, a world shaped by compassion, integrity, and justice at every level of society. But how realistic is this vision? And does today's interpretation of forgiveness align with Jesus' original message, or have we drifted from its true meaning? Join us on a journey through history, faith, and society as we explore how these teachings could redefine our world and ask, what would change and what challenges would we face? The power of Jesus' teachings in a modern context. Jesus' teachings have had an undeniable impact on Western civilization, yet much of today's world operates in ways that seem to contradict these principles. From turning the other cheek to caring for the least of these, his messages call for a radical shift in how society operates. To understand what the world would look like if Jesus' teachings shaped our society directly, we begin with three central pillars: politics, economics, and social justice. Politics, a new standard of leadership. Theologian: if political leaders truly modeled Jesus' teachings, we'd see a shift from self-interest and power struggles to servant leadership. Politicians would be focused on the good of the people over personal gain. Policies would reflect values like humility, sacrifice, and love for neighbor. Instead of partisan divides, a government based on Jesus' teachings would encourage compromise, understanding, and humility. Leaders would prioritize the needs of the marginalized, creating systems that serve the public rather than divide it. Imagine leaders putting aside differences to work collaboratively, prioritizing common good over competition. Such a political landscape could offer solutions to some of today's biggest challenges: poverty, healthcare, and environmental crises, all approached with the compassion and unity Jesus taught. Economics, wealth redistribution, and justice. Jesus taught that one cannot serve both God and wealth, highlighting a stark difference between spiritual values and materialism. Applied to today's economic systems, his teachings would emphasize fair wages, wealth redistribution, and an economy focused on meeting needs rather than driving profit. Economist: a society influenced by Jesus' economic teachings would challenge current wealth disparities. Concepts like wealth redistribution would be normalized, ensuring that basic needs are met for everyone, not just the privileged. Imagine corporations prioritizing fair wages and labor conditions, or entire communities coming together to ensure no one is left hungry or homeless. In this economy, businesses would be encouraged to serve people and the planet rather than focus solely on profit. Social justice, radical compassion and inclusion. Social justice would take on a transformative role, grounded in Jesus' command to love your neighbor as yourself. This ideal would lead to a world in which racial, gender, and socioeconomic inequalities are actively addressed rather than ignored. Advocate: a world that followed Jesus' social teachings would be one that values every life equally. It would challenge us to end discrimination and act as advocates for the oppressed, creating a society that values unity and justice. Imagine educational and healthcare systems where access is equal, regardless of race or income. Imagine criminal justice focused on rehabilitation rather than punishment. This approach could lead to unprecedented levels of empathy and social cohesion. Forgiveness and accountability in today's Christianity. At the heart of Jesus' message is forgiveness, a teaching as powerful as it is challenging. But is forgiveness in today's Christian communities sometimes misinterpreted? Should forgiveness be given unconditionally, or should it come with accountability? The concept of forgiveness, balancing grace and justice. Ethicist: forgiveness, as Jesus taught, is powerful. It can heal wounds and break cycles of resentment. But it's not a free pass. In the Bible, we see both forgiveness and accountability go hand in hand. Jesus forgave, but he also called people to repentance. Forgiveness is not synonymous with ignoring wrongdoing. Jesus' approach balanced grace and justice. When he forgave, he often called people to sin no more, highlighting accountability. Today's world, however, sometimes uses forgiveness to avoid uncomfortable conversations or bypass responsibility. For example, in cases of abuse or systemic wrongdoing, forgive and forget can sometimes mean that victims are silenced while offenders go unchallenged. A true application of Jesus' teachings would call for forgiveness but also for a reckoning with injustice, ensuring that forgiveness is accompanied by meaningful change. When should forgiveness be unconditional? Jesus taught his followers to forgive 70 times 7, emphasizing a spirit of boundless forgiveness. But when does unconditional forgiveness apply, and when does justice demand action? Pastor, unconditional forgiveness doesn't mean we ignore justice. It means we let go of personal grudges, not that we ignore wrongdoing. The goal is to prevent bitterness from consuming us while still standing up for what's right. In personal relationships, forgiveness can free individuals from the prison of anger and resentment. But in the public sphere, a world shaped by Jesus' teachings would balance forgiveness with accountability, understanding that one is incomplete without the other. Can we create this world? Applying Jesus' teachings to our political, economic, and social systems presents challenges. Human nature, power structures, and cultural divides complicate the vision of a world shaped by love and justice. Can we truly create this heaven on earth, or is it a beautiful, yet unachievable, ideal? The challenge is human nature and resistance to change. Throughout history, humans have struggled to uphold principles of compassion, honesty, and humility. Jesus' teachings challenge our desire for power, wealth, and self-interest, traits often embedded in our systems and psyches. Social scientist. Our systems are designed to maintain power imbalances. Changing these requires more than individual goodwill, it needs structural reform and a willingness to confront deep-seated issues. A modern movement. Communities trying to live out Jesus' teachings. Yet, across the world, we see glimpses of people striving to make this vision a reality. Christian charities, forgiveness and reconciliation programs, and economic justice initiatives are working toward a society shaped by Jesus' teachings. From urban ministries providing for the homeless to organizations pushing for criminal justice reform, these movements embody a small but powerful glimpse of what might be possible. Jesus' teachings present a radical blueprint for a more just, compassionate, and peaceful world. But it requires each individual to challenge their own values, biases, and actions. Can we forgive with grace while holding each other accountable? Can we build systems that reflect the principles of love, humility, and justice? A world that truly follows Jesus' teachings may seem distant, but it starts with small acts and a commitment to transformation. Imagine what could be achieved if each of us lived out these teachings, creating a world that reflects the love and justice he envisioned. Heaven on earth may not be a utopia, but it's a goal worth pursuing, for today, and for the generations to come. Thank you for listening and learning with us today. For more videos like this, please like, subscribe, and share. Until next time.